Alrighty, you guys. We are going to be talking about multi-step equations today. Last time you should have been working on 1 and 2 step equations, okay? Equations where it took you either 1 or 2 steps to find the answer, right? Get the variable all by itself. So, number 1, when solving a multi-step equation, there are going to be more than how many steps to solve for the variable? Okay, variable. Okay, we did 1 and 2 last time, so anything more than 2 is considered a multi-step. Okay, so if it takes 1, it's 1 step, 2, 2 step, anything more than 2 is a multi-step. Okay, so it's asking us to solve each multi-step equation. Okay, so on number 2, this is actually probably our hardest one of the entire day. We see that we actually have 2 variables. Okay, so what that tells us when you see 2 variables means you're gonna have to combine like terms. Okay, so if you see 2 terms with variables, meaning I see 2 terms with x's in them, you have to combine like terms. Okay, before I get any farther in the notes, remember that I am linking the blank notes as well as the filled out notes on Canvas. So if you want to print out the notes and follow along while I'm teaching, I highly recommend it. You don't have to because you're not turning the notes in. They are purely for helping you learn and do your assignment. Okay, so our first step. Okay, I cannot combine my like terms until we get rid of these parentheses. Okay, so I see this number right in front of the parentheses. Okay, and if you remember, whenever it's right next to, that means we need to distribute or multiply, right? So we have to distribute or multiply that -3, remember, include the sign, to everything inside the parentheses. Okay, so this -3 times 8, our first step. -3 times 8 is going to give me -24. Okay, so that becomes -24. -3 times -8x, remember a negative times a negative is a positive, so that's going to give me positive 3 times 8, 24. There was 1x, so x. Okay, then you can just bring down what's left, so that's 2x. Okay, equals the other side we haven't touched yet because, remember, we have to work from the side with our variable. Okay, remember that from last time. Okay, so now that I've gotten rid of the parentheses, I can go ahead and combine those like terms. Okay, so I see that I can now combine the 2x and the plus 24x. Okay, so what is 2x plus 24, or 2 plus 24? It's going to give me 26x. Okay, you can just bring down -24. Okay, we still have -206 on the other side. Okay, so now I only see one term with the variable, so we can go ahead and start moving things to the other side, or untying the knot, right? So we untie the knot, and we have to keep it balanced. In fact, let's write those 2 steps right on the top right corner of our paper. So you need to think untie the knot or do the opposite of what's being done. And then you have to, whoops, make sure you can see it, keep it balanced. Meaning whatever you do to one side of your equation, you must do to the other. Okay, so let's go back to number 2. So we have a 26 that's being multiplied and then a subtract 24. So which one do we need to get rid of first? We need to get rid of this -24. It's farthest away from my x. Remember from last time with our 2-step equations, you have to move from the farthest in. So this -24 is the farthest away. The opposite of -24 is plus 24. That's us untying the knot. So that can go ahead and cancel once you've untied it or done the opposite. But to keep it balanced, you have to do the same thing to both sides. Okay, so now I have -206. Actually, let's bring down what's left over. So we still have 26x equals, and then -206 plus 24. I'm going to use my calculator. You're always welcome to use a calculator. negative 206, we're adding 24, so we're moving towards the positives. That's going to give me negative 182. Okay, so I'm just going to bring this guy over here just so we have enough room. Negative 182 equals 26x. So 26 times something. Remember, the whole point of solving equations is trying to figure out what this variable actually represents. Okay, so 26 times something equals negative 182. So we need to untie the knot. We need to do the opposite of times by 26, which is going to be divide by 26. Okay, that's untying the knot, so that can go ahead and cancel. Keep it balanced and divide by 26 on both sides. Okay, in your calculator, I'm going to do it in my calculator. Negative 182 divided by a positive 26 is going to give me negative, so x is all by itself. That's going to give me negative 7. Okay, so since my variable is all by itself, that is our answer. X equals negative 7. Okay, that was our hardest example of the day, it looks like. No other examples have one where you have to have two variables. Okay, so let's look at number 3. Okay, number 3, I see parentheses. So remember, the parentheses tells me that I need to do what with this negative 7? I need to distribute it or multiply it to both things inside the parentheses. Okay, so we're just working on the side with our variable so far. Okay, so we can draw our line down our equal sign to make sure that we keep it balanced. So first thing, I have negative 7 times p. This is going to give me just negative 7p. Okay, negative 7 times a negative 6 is going to give me positive, and just to double check my work, 42. Okay, equals 91, we haven't done anything with yet. Okay, so I don't see any parentheses. I see that there's only one term with a variable, so I can go ahead and start untying the knot. Okay, so I have negative 7 times p, or think it's right by the p, it's connected, and then I have this plus 42. So this plus 42 is farthest away, so we need to undo plus 42. So what is the opposite of plus 42? It is minus 42. Okay, so we'll do that to both sides. Okay, bring down what's left over. We have negative 7p equals 91 minus 42. Again, you can always use a calculator. That's going to give me 49. Beautiful. Okay, so my p is not all by itself yet, so that tells me I still have a step to do. Okay, so we see that this negative 7 is being multiplied to the p. Negative 7 times something equals 49. Okay, what is the opposite of negative or multiply by negative 7? It is divide by negative 7. You have to include that sign. Okay, got to do the same thing to both sides of our equal sign. Okay, so we can bring that. Our p is all by itself, so this should be our answer. Okay, so what is 49 divided by negative 7? Remember, it is a positive divided by a negative, so we know it's going to be negative. 49 divided by 7, that is 7. So p equals negative 7. Great. Okay, let's go to number 4. Okay, so again, I see parentheses, so we have to get rid of the parentheses in order to start moving things to the other side of our equal sign. Okay, so take the number right in front of your parentheses and we distribute or multiply to both terms inside. So, draw my line. Okay, so I have 2 times 1, which is just 2. 2 times negative 8n. Okay, so a positive times a negative is going to give me negative. 2 times 8, 16, and then the n. Okay, and that's going to equal negative 126, which we haven't done anything yet, or anything with yet. Okay, so This is where it might get a little confusing. So I don't see any parentheses anymore, so that's good. So we have a 2 out in front, and then we have a negative 16 timesing by the end, multiplying by the end. Okay, since this negative 16 is attached to the end, we have to get rid of the 2 first. But you're always looking at the sign in front of the 2. Okay, this is a positive sign, right? It's positive 2. Okay, so since we're trying to get rid of the plus 2, what is the opposite of plus 2? It is subtract 2. Okay, so we untied the knot. Okay, we can subtract 2 to both sides. Bring down what's left. We have negative 16 times n equals negative 126 minus 2 more. So you're getting more negative here, so a negative 128. Okay. So now we can go ahead and get rid of this times by negative 16. The opposite of times by negative 16 is divide by negative 16. That unties it. We got to keep it balanced. Make sure you include the sign with it. Okay, bring down your n. It's all by itself. Okay, so we have a negative divided by a negative here. So we need to get a positive answer. So 128 divided by 16, I'm using my calculator, is a positive 8. Negative divided by negative is positive. Our variable is all by itself. So that is our answer. Beautiful. Okay, number 5. Only 2 more examples. This is probably kind of like number 2. So I see parentheses. So you need to take the number and the sign in front of that number and distribute it to both terms inside. So let's just get rid of these parentheses first. Okay, so negative 7 times 1 is going to just give me negative 7. Negative 7 times this plus 5x is going to give me negative 35x. Okay, if you're wondering why we can't combine the negative 1 and the negative 7 to give me negative 8 and then distribute, that would give you totally different answers. Okay, you must follow PEMDAS. Okay, you must distribute. Okay, in fact, I'm going to write this down. Must follow PEMDAS, right? Our order of operations. Very first thing is parentheses. So you cannot subtract, you cannot combine those because they're the parentheses. Okay, that is why we cannot turn this negative 1 minus 7 into a negative 8. You have to get rid of the parentheses first. Okay, so since we did that, just bring down your negative 1. It was just left over. Okay, so now we have equals 97 on the other side. Okay, so we have our line. Boom. Okay, so the right side is the side with my variable, so I need to maybe combine some like terms before I can start moving things. So what are my like terms that I can combine on this side? Remember, it has to either both have a variable, both not. Okay, so I see that this negative 1 minus 7 can now turn into a negative 8. Okay? Because those are like terms. We followed PEMDAS, got rid of the parentheses first. Now we can use subtraction to turn that into a negative 8. Okay, so that turns into a negative 8. Just bring your negative 35x down, and we still have equals 97 because we haven't done anything with that yet. Okay, but now I see only 2 terms, one with our variable, so we can go ahead and start moving things. Okay, untying the knot. So I see this negative 35 that's attached to it. It's right next to it. So that tells me I need to get rid of this minus 8 first. So what is the opposite of minus 8? We have add 8. So that unties the knot. We got to do the same thing to both sides. So bring down what's left over. So we have negative 35x is still left over. Equals 97 plus 8. Plus 8 is going to give me 105. Okay, my variable is not by itself yet. Almost, but not yet. So we have one more step. So it's being multiplied by negative 35. Negative 35 times something is going to equal 105. Okay, so what is the opposite of times by negative 35? It is divide by negative 35. That unties the knot. Got to keep it balanced. Make sure you attach the sign. Okay, so now we should have our x all by itself. X is going to equal what? Okay, 105 divided by negative 35. So we have positive divided by a negative, so we know our answer has to be negative. And it is negative 3. And that is our answer. Awesome. Okay, let's do our last example, number 6. So I see parentheses, so we know that we need to distribute, okay? So you take that number right in front and it distributes in, meaning it multiplies to both things inside. So this negative 3 times negative 1, negative times a negative, gives me a positive. Again, negative 3 times negative 4r is going to give me a positive 3 times 4, 12 with the 1r. Okay, and that is going to equal 99. We haven't done anything with the 99 yet. Okay, so now I see this 12 that's right next to the r and then the 3, so the 3 is farthest away. So we need to get rid of this plus 3 or positive 3. Okay, so what's the opposite of positive 3 or plus 3? It is negative 3. So you got to do the same thing to both sides, bring down what's left. 12 times r, or 12 times something, is going to give me 99 minus 3 is 96. Okay, very last step. 12 times something equals 96. What's the opposite of times by 12? We have to divide by 12. Okay, do the same thing to both sides. Okay, that means our r is all by itself. Okay, r equals 96 divided by 12, which is going to give me 8. Variable is all by itself, so that is our answer. Okay, multi-step equations. You're just building on what we learned last time, right? It just takes more steps to find the variable, to get the variable all by itself. Okay, so like I said, you are not required to turn the notes in if you filled them out. I guarantee if you filled them out, then you'll have an easier time on your assignment. But all you are required to turn in, and hopefully you already did your starter for today. Today would be October 2nd. So make sure your starter's done and then complete the assignment after watching this video.